You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 228 of Teach Better Talk, and happy Thanksgiving! I didn't want to forget. My name's Ray Hewart, and I am with that guy that really likes turkey, Mr. Jeff Gargis. Jeff, how are you? Are you excited for turkey?
I am. I'm really hungry for turkey, which is rough because, those listening know that we didn't record this on Thanksgiving. So
I know.
A little ways out from Thanksgiving right now, but I'm really looking forward to Thanksgiving because I really like turkey. Wouldn't it be so cute if we were recording this like the morning of Thanksgiving and we were celebrating this special day that people, I'm just saying this would be so sweet if it wasn't like 2 weeks in advance. I'm just saying. It would be good. Are you a turkey person? Is that do you look forward to that a lot? Or does your family normally do turkey or do you do something different? Or
my family, so I don't mind turkey. I don't know that I crave any part of Thanksgiving food. I feel like I eat it because of Thanksgiving, but it's not my style of food. It's very heavy. Right now, your stomach isn't just yelling out for some mashed potatoes and stuffing and turkey with gravy all over it and some sort of delicious roll. And my mom makes her corn souffle and it's just, See,
so
you lost me at mashed potatoes. I love mashed potatoes. Everything else, it's not that I won't eat it. It's just not the holiday where I love the food. Do you have a holiday that you the food is the best? What would be the holiday for you?
Thanksgiving.
Is it really?
Yeah, I think
Christmas?
It is. I really love Christmas and Easter as well.
What about 4th of July?
Christmas and Easter are both usually ham, and I really like that too. It's usually good, but I love Thanksgiving definitely, without a doubt. It's my favorite.
That's so crazy. No, I would definitely not choose
Thanksgiving.
Yours? I don't know. I was thinking about it now. I asked you and I'm oh man, he's going to ask me next. Okay, this is the lamest thing ever. We're going to lose so many listeners when I say this. Are you sure you want me to tell you? I feel like they're already sure. Uh-oh, Ray, delete, Okay, so Passover is one of my favorite food holidays. And I know that's a Jewish holiday. If you haven't celebrated Passover, you can come over to my house after COVID. But it's
what do you eat
there's so much food. It's just everything. Usually some sort of tenderloin or brisket. Just so yum. Oh, I'm getting excited sitting here. But that's not till Easter time. They're in similar time frames. So yeah. I have some time. But I think I'd go more beef tenderloin or brisket, some good salads. That's kind of my style. I don't know.
I'm so hungry right now, so we need to stop talking about that.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
It sounds great. One of my things though with Thanksgiving, and especially this year because obviously plans are different this year with COVID.
Yes, very.
I think what I like most about Thanksgiving, this is whatever, is that after you're done eating, it's perfectly cool to just lay down and fall asleep somewhere.
Oh.
And so even if you don't stuff yourself, I think it's a really important holiday to just kind of chill out, relax.
It's just acceptable.
And just. It is right. So it should be more acceptable all the time. But on Thanksgiving, specifically, you just you loosen up the belt, you lay down, you pass out.
So
my plan is even if we're not together with a big meal or something like that, I'm still just gonna fall asleep somewhere. That's what I'm planning to do.
It's a good plan. You know how we've talked about frozen pizza and my skill in making frozen pizza on the podcast?
I try to forget it, but yeah, thanks for bringing that back up.
Yeah, the reason I'm bringing it up is because guess who's cooking Thanksgiving dinner for my parents this year?
Someone you hire, I hope.
You think I could hire someone to cook Thanksgiving dinner? I didn't even think of that. Maybe I should put out an ad help wanted.
You could probably. Do you have Bob Evans close to you? They'll cater it.
Feeding my father Bob Evans would be so entertaining.
What are you doing? Turkey? Are you doing a turkey?
Or are you doing maybe a chicken? I don't. Yeah, maybe I'll do turkey. I don't know. I don't know how to cook either, so it won't matter whichever one I pick.
Why are you cooking Thanksgiving?
Wait, does this not sound like a great idea? Jeff, I am a strong educator. I can figure this out. I can figure out how to cook Thanksgiving dinner. I can.
I totally agree. You are absolutely a strong educator, and I agree that strong educators can figure these things out.
Yes.
But you can't.
The worst part is, like, I agree with you. That's the worst part.
No, I know you do. That's why I'm like, why did you say yes to that?
So here's the question.
Well, yeah, I know your parents, they're going to show up with half the meal anyway. Like,
I know. But here's what I'm thinking. Like, this comes out on Thanksgiving, right? And I know that we're, like, obviously recording this a few weeks ahead of time. I will give like an overview of how it went afterwards so that everyone still knows if, like, my house burned down or, you know, if I, like, lost a finger or if I couldn't find, you don't use a pot for cooking a turkey. So, like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. It'll be fine.
Then I'm going to talk with her father and find out how it really went, and I'll report that end.
Yes,
that's fun. So I'm glad you're going to get to see your parents. We're trying to figure out what we're doing because we're trying to be safe. You know, my parents and my wife's parents are both, like, in our circle that we've allowed our family to touch, but, like, you know, normally Thanksgiving's bigger, and so we're trying to figure out what the right way to go is. One way or another, I'm going to have some turkey. My mother-in-law already said that, you know, if we don't get together, she'll drop turkey off because that's my mother-in-law's the coolest in the world. So, like, you know, one way or another, I'm eating some turkey and I'm falling asleep. That's all I know.
That's the solution, Jeff. I will make the dinner and then I'll, like, package up a little turkey for you and I'll mail it to Ohio. How's that sound? Do you think it'll still be good?
I'm going to need you to make it a day or two before so it gets to me on Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
It. Mm-hmm. But I think one of the things I did want to mention here is that when we talk about this quite a bit, but I don't think we can possibly mention enough is that Thanksgiving is also this is a holiday weekend, right? Most everyone gets that extra day off. Typically, you get Thursday and Friday, right? So it's a little extra time. So I hope if you're listening, you find some time during that long weekend to be very intentional, to take some time for yourself, to relax, give yourself a little extra grace. If that's passing out after you eat the turkey, great. If that's, you know, doing some Black Friday shopping online afterwards because that's your thing, like, good. But take some time for yourself, relax, chill out, reset yourself. I think that's really important when we have these opportunities of longer weekends where everyone's kind of chilled out a little bit, especially with this year and the weight of the world that educators are carrying right now, which is just unbelievable. So do me a favor, all of you listening, take some time over your Thanksgiving break and just, like, chill. If you need it, so, like, a little, like, relaxing moment, just kind of think and envision Ray making Thanksgiving dinner, and you'll put a smile on your face. You might chuckle a little bit, and you should be good.
I was thinking, first of all, aside from your bad joke, I totally agree. Taking time for yourself is so important, guys. I really hope you're listening to this. Even if you're listening to it after Thanksgiving, please just take time for yourself. You're doing so much, and I feel like you hear that, but I really need you to hear it for real. Like, take time for yourself. Click
the rewind 15-second button here real quick. Turn the volume up and listen to Ray say that again. I think that's important.
Take time for yourself. But in addition to that, we'd really love, and Jeff, I didn't even okay this with you, but just be okay with it. I would like Thanksgiving, like, food, like, tweeted at us so we can see all the options of Thanksgiving food. Like, I would love a really big fork full of something. If you could snap a picture and just tag the Teach Better team, tag Jeff and I, we would love to see what you are eating this Thanksgiving, so then you can go take a nap afterwards. So a really good fork full of food picture would be great.
Yes. And Ray is going to tweet out how her cooking went, and it'll be fantastic. And I will tweet out her father's review. I'm set on that. It's going to happen.
If I just order random food to be delivered, do you think they'll believe that I cooked it? Like, what if they show up and there's, like, sushi? And I'm like, guys, I made this. I made this by myself.
Sushi?
I'm just thinking of, like...
If you got it delivered quick enough, you could get it in your own pots and pans. Do you have pots and pans?
I think that's what's in the cabinets, isn't it?
Didn't that come with the house?
I thought so.
You put it in pots and pans getting ready and then, like, hide all the, hide everything. Like, Mrs. Doubtfire it,
Exactly.
So, anyway, that's great. I'm looking forward to it. Now I'm super hungry, though. All right, let's talk about this episode real quick. Ryan Reed, he's funny. I just think Ryan's funny. He's just a fun guy.
He is funny.
He's a high school teacher out in Illinois, not too far from you. We got to meet him out in IdeaCon,
which seems like forever ago, but I don't think it wasn't even a year ago, right?
No, it was February.
Was it February? Oh,
February.
Man, before everything. But just a good guy. Really enjoy his focus. He's been doing a lot of blended learning, and now that's, I think, playing into a lot of how he's reassessing how he's teaching and how his learners are learning, which I really enjoy his story through that. He's also a podcast host times two different podcasts. He's also an author times two as well. So super fun episode, really cool guy. Anything you want us to pull out other than Illinois Rocks?
Well, obviously, Illinois Rocks, and enjoy Ryan Reed. Make sure to connect with him. He has so much stuff out there. Just go follow.
Yes. All right, with that, let's get into episode 228 with Ryan Reed.
All right, we'll be right back with that episode, but I do want to make sure that you know that you should be listening to all the podcasts, a part of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Yes, Teach Better Talk is a fun one, and we really appreciate that you have subscribed and hopefully rated and reviewed this podcast. But we also have other podcasts that we have the opportunity to highlight over in our podcast network. Head over to teachbetter.com/podcast to see the full list.
All right, we're here and we are chatting with Ryan Reed. And Ryan, awesome to have you on the podcast, man. We're already laughing a little bit beforehand, which is always a good sign. Super excited to kind of dive into your story, hear about everything you got going on. Before we get too far into things, how are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty good, despite everything going on here. It's been a busy day here, just getting the house in order in here. I actually was off today. I wasn't teaching, so feeling pretty good, pretty energetic here. Just, trying to keep our sense of normal over here in the house.
Well, Ryan, I'm so glad you're here. I know we're going to have a whole lot to talk about, but I want to make sure our listeners kind of get some background on all of the things. And when I say all the things, I do mean all of the things that you do in education. So if somebody asked you like kind of that simple thing, like, hey, Ryan, what do you do? What's your typical response?
And usually I respond to them saying, I teach business and technology. So I work with students in career readiness, learning how to apply technology, not only to the career, but also to the creative world. I teach blended classroom, so I'm pretty much don't lecture, and students work on their own pace, and I allow more individual help and more creative freedom with their assignments and teachers with it. And I believe that teaching students can take them outside the classroom and not learn something they can Google in 2 minutes. I'm about teaching how technology is a tool and build something amazing from it, not something you are focused on giving the most likes to.
I like that, building something amazing from it, how to use the tools. I really like the way you phrase all that there. You also do some podcasting of your own.
Yes, I do. So I have
tell us about, you have 2 different podcasts, right?
Yeah, actually I do have 2 different podcasts. And actually the second one is actually, I actually have to say it's your fault. Actually, or I should say it wasn't your fault. You just gave the tipping point to my division leader, but,
love it.
And
wait a minute.
Yeah,
okay,
I'll get into that.
You talk about it, then you get to that. We'll get to where you're blaming us. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I usually my podcast is the Pixel Classroom podcast. We've actually been going a year now. We're coming up here to episode 33. It's been going really well. Pixels. A lot of people know me as Pixels, but I do it as a passion, innovation, X factor, enthusiasm, and leadership in the classroom. So I talk to people that from all walks. I just recently had Amanda Fox on. I've had Carrie Bungham on. Tish Richmond's been on. Hopefully Dave, if he's hearing this, will hopefully be on later this winter. So we have a lot of wonderful guests. Sometimes I'll do some audio blogs, but I've been podcasting actually on and off for several years. I was a part of the Green Lantern podcast about, hard to believe, 12 years ago, which was a comic website I hosted for a while. And I got out of it. I kind of popped in and out of various people's podcasts. The second one I do is called the Meridian 223 Teacher Podcast, which I do with my co-host and division leader, Katherine Murphy, MurphCat72, if anybody's looking for her on Twitter. And actually, believe it or not, I had been talking to her about a year ago about doing a podcast, and she's like, I don't know. Then we went to this convention known as IDEA last year, and someone named Ray... she decided to go to the session after I pushed her through the door, literally, and she sat down with Ray, and about 2 seconds later, she texted me and said, come back here. We need to get this going.
Yes, I love it. That was a fun session, too.
That was a fun session. We had a full room. That was a good time there. Shout out to IdeaCon.
Yes, it was.
So it's Ray's fault. I enjoy that you're blaming Ray and not me. So
well, no, see, Jeff, I just blamed you because you convinced me to actually convince Kathy to go on this journey here for that. Ray was who finally pushed her into it, and she told me.
I pushed her using inspiration, motivation. I think I'm like the hero in the story.
Ryan, she pushed me into this whole thing too, so I totally get it.
Totally get it. But now I can't get rid of them. That's the problem.
No, that's all right. They can't get rid of me. They keep trying, and they're still stuck with me after all. I know my superintendent does the same thing. I'm stuck with them, but I like having them around.
Hey, it happens. That's awesome, and I love that you have both gone. I love that was what the tipping point. That's really cool, and I'm super proud of that fact. So that's great. So nice work on that. Let's talk about one of my favorite questions that we ask a lot of our guests is this question around failure. And I always say that I've been fortunate enough to fail a lot, not because I like it, but because I can look back and still continually learn lessons from past failures. And so I love hearing these stories. So can you share a story about a time that you've had a failure? Can I take us there with you? What happened? How did you overcome it? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Well, one thing is I have failed. I have failed since I was in second grade. And I took out an old school library shelf. That was a fun time. I don't think any of my teachers will ever forget that too. But my most recent failure, I'd say, would have to be the pacing I've recently done with the current hybrid setting. I mean, let's face it, we've heard the word hybrid, and we've seen the ins and outs. We've seen remote learning. We've had face to face, but about 30% of my students are in remote learning on any given day. And many times I believe I have been teaching a lesson and handing, classroom management at the same time. Then I turn around and most likely my students have logged in, but we're really present in the digital classroom. I've had to handle my parent contacts more, working and bring students and learning from their own failures, but choice and academically. So it's really taught me not only to be more contact with students. I have to say I've lacked that. I've always felt I was very open, very approachable teacher. But pretty much is one thing I really learned is I was, as I was saying, I kept trying to appease the masses, cover everything. So I had to really cut junk in my lessons. I've been, working more interactive lessons with students and projects. I've had more, spiderweb discussions, class discussions recently with both in person and remotely, at least when my audio wants to work. And sometimes they'll hear me and I can't hear them. So that's another kind of failure there I've really had to do, and it's called closed caption. But, I've learned more deeper-ended questions more. So just a yes or no, I've looked more for back and forth discussion because, many of my students, if they're not engaged, they really are not going to, check in your classroom. The camera is off. You don't know they're there. And, if you're not engaging them, that was something I felt like I've, really failed, and something I've been really learning as we've gone through this time and even before COVID.
I love that reflection. I think so many of us are thankfully finding some of the sort of silver lining, whatever you want to call it, taking some of the lessons that we're learning right now. Not necessarily by choice right now, whether we're learning and be able to take them forward with us in our career. So I appreciate you sharing that. Let's flip it around now. Let's talk about a successful moment you had. And this could be something big or something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Well, believe it or not, one of my biggest things is I've been teaching blended for, which has probably been my most successful. Now, some people always ask me, what's the difference between in-person, flipped, and blended classroom? Well, blended classroom is more of an interaction and technology and much, much less lecturing class, but it's really allowed more freedom for my students. So, we go everything such as post-script video, checklists, interactive videos with my classes, and it's basically allowed me to clean up my curriculum the last few years, because I had a teacher evaluation last year and my vice principal even said, Ryan, they are too dependent on you. You teach the lesson, they're engaged, they're doing it, but then something goes wrong. They're not asking you. They, as they say, he said, I saw 5 students ready to grab you all by the arms and pull you in 8 directions. And I've really had to learn to clean up the curriculum the last couple of years and really do the blended classroom. It's been really nice where, we can do the lessons, everybody can go at their own pace. I'm much more easier to be available for answers. I've really had the students lean on each other when they've had questions, and it's really shown me a way to give more the students more of a deeper understanding of the knowledge, because we're not creating busy work anymore. It's here, do this worksheet, or I need you to finish this draft. It's no. I create something that they won't, that instead of them doing and forgetting, or at least forgetting when the semester's over in 3 minutes, they are actually taking something with them. They're actually creating, they're showing their peers. I had really cool one. I had a student who actually texted her mom saying, look at my business card we made in class. I think this is really good because I really want to do this career. And they responded going, whoa, you've never talked about being in a class like this unless you were, welding something or, you were waiting saying what time's dinner tonight. So they were, it's really changed out with the blended, the more pacing, the more, less lecturing and a lot more creativity. So that's really been a really success this past year.
Yeah, I love that you're focusing on not necessarily being the content delivery system, but really the facilitator of the learning going on. That's a huge push, not only in progressive education, but obviously clearly in blended classrooms as well. And as teachers continue to kind of like find the balance between remote learning and hybrid learning and everything in between, the more we can take advantage of this circumstance to step away from the front of the room and begin to allow students to be the leaders in some of that exploration is so cool. I love that you've been dabbling with that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I like I said, I'll also hand that back over to my division leader, Kathy Murphy. She kind of got that started herself, and she said herself 5 years ago, she didn't know what she was doing. It was a lot of failures and successes. And then, I looked at some things that weren't working for her, and, we kind of bounce off each other a lot too. So something that works for me, she takes, or if she finds something, I said, I got to try that. That sounds like a good idea. We've, been enriching our classrooms more that way.
So tell me, you do so much in education. You obviously support students. With everything you've been doing, what's keeping you excited right now about education and or like what you're doing?
Well, this is the biggest thing too, but I think the use of technology in the classroom has been really exciting because so many schools have really been stuck or stagnant with teaching and curriculum. And I've seen so many teachers really not only get out of their comfort zones, but really been updating their teaching style. They've been, trying to help each other out. There's been a lot more community lately, and I've really liked that. One thing is when I came to my current school district, and this is my 4th year there, my previous ones, we had a lot of family and friendships, and it was still really good just coming in. I didn't feel like the new teacher in town. I actually was kind of welcome with open arms, but, we saw a lot of, well, he's doing this classroom. I don't need to change my style. And we've actually been helping each other, more of our more advanced ones to help us really been teaching and even evaluating teachers before. So we've been really going through the classrooms, and it's just amazing how many students are now coming out actually excited instead of, oh no, we have to go there now. I don't want to go to that classroom. But it's really been amazing how a lot of the teachers have been transforming. And it's also been me too. I've really had to change my curriculum. It makes me excited where we're going right now.
That's absolutely exciting. And I think you're seeing that nationally, worldwide. I love that that's something that people are focusing on. If you had to give a piece of advice, and I know I'm going to limit it to one piece of advice, so don't be mad, but if you had to find a piece of advice that you were going to give like a new teacher or veteran teacher, any listener, a piece of advice that you want us to consider, kind of maybe be a major takeaway, what would you suggest?
Well, the biggest one here, Ray, is really creating a classroom culture together, because you'll be learning both with the students and your environment. One thing you have to remember is you will be the new teacher in a classroom, and there's always going to be a push. There's always going to be a push from others. There's going to making your classroom your own, then locking it all down, thinking you have to make it perfect all the time, or that there's no wiggle room, or feel you have to give someone an inch and they'll take a city block. The problem is patience. The patience is the key. Don't be in a rush. It takes time, because you're creating a culture and what's going to make the difference for you and your students in the long run. And it doesn't happen overnight. I've had that too. Like I said, I came in too, and I was a teacher that was coming in with a little BB-8 robot following me, and the students didn't know to go like, well, should we find this cool? I don't get this. Or, he wasn't a teacher like the other one. He seems to do more of this, and he understands tech more, and his business is, kind of more straightforward. I'm like, do we do this? And, it was a building time. I think now, compared to where I was 4 years ago, that culture has been much more created. And I always tell new and, teachers that switch schools, like, get that culture going. Once you've really created that classroom culture together with the students, it's going to be much more rich, and you're going to find it much beneficial and much better for both your teaching and for the students' learning. So culture is huge.
I love that. That's so true. And I love you to focus on it. Be patient. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes time. It takes a lot of time and energy. It takes time to build that. So great advice, man. Really appreciate that. Let's have some fun with these next 6 questions. I'm going to throw them at you. Your goal is to answer each one in 15 seconds or less. You ready to go?
I think I can. Okay, hold on. Let's drink the water, crack the knuckles. Okay, I'm ready, Jeff.
All right. What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
FlipGrid. I'm wearing the shirt too. You showed before we started recording. I'm wearing the FlipGrid. I need my FlipGrid.
What's a book you're reading right now?
I just finished the complete EdTech Coach by Adam Juarez and Katherine Goyette, and I'm now reading the Educator's Matchbook by Mandy Froehlich, and I'm just recently finished Game On, Brain On by Lindsay Portnoy. Great for culture building, self-care, and tech.
Nice, love it. Who do we need to follow on Twitter or Instagram today? You can give us up to 3.
Right now, one person you definitely need to follow is Carrie Buncombe. You might compare Carrie _Buncombe. She's on Twitter. She was formerly Heck Awesome. She has a YouTube channel, which is Doodle Chat. She does it every Saturday. She is like the sketch note queen of the Midwest, and you really just got to check her out. You want to look at some other people. I definitely will highly recommend John Meehan. You can find out Meehan EDU. He is the writer of Adrenaline Rush. He does amazing things. And like I said, just look up Tish Richmond. Fantastic. You can find her at Tish Richmond on Instagram and Make Learning Magical podcast. It's just fantastic. People you need to follow like right now.
Give us a good YouTube channel, website, or podcast for educators to check out.
Well, right now, website, I'm definitely going to throw out Jen Burtis. If you've seen her, the Edu Ninja, fantastic. Jen, she's Jen-Burtis. That's BURDIS.squarespace.com. Fantastic for motivation, healthy lifestyle. And I have to say, thanks to this woman, I've also lost 27 pounds. So apparently she did it right. Podcast, I would definitely throw out NIU Steam Read. It is fantastic for reading and education. It's really one of the Interview Dubes by Interview Dudes, fantastic podcast. They get a lot of educators as well as celebrities. It's a fun podcast. And I will actually throw out Mike Rowe's The Way I Heard It. Fantastic history lessons. They're quick, they're short. And if you like Mike Rowe, definitely check them out.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Well, first of all, journal at least once a week, and that doesn't matter if it's individually in a book, a journal, or a blog. I definitely highly recommend journaling. Definitely try to put in a daily gratitude snap on social media, and monthly, I have to say, create one new lesson based on something popular. I just recently did a lesson based on Among Us, and I have to say the conversation, the business, and everything in my one class was off the charts, and the kids actually said, "Yeah, I had to think about how I talked about this." So very amazing to just try to do one lesson based on something popular right now.
I like that. And finally, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Believe it, one was, you are going to be a broken teacher from your failures and years of work and burnout. And trust me, I've had them. Let it build you, not destroy you, and let it give you new beginnings, not endings.
Ooh. I like that.
Good. I like that.
Good piece of advice. Oof, I like that. Let it build you. Very cool.
As I say, it's always chances of new beginnings and not endings.
Oh, so good. Well, Ryan, I want to make sure that everybody here not only gets to connect with you on social, but obviously go listen to the content that you're pushing out as well. Would you mind kind of sharing where they can stay connected?
Well, right, they can find me over on my website. It's my blog called Dice Up the Classroom, and you can find it at classroomsnextlevel.wordpress.com. I try to change the Dice Up the Classroom, but the URL was unfacable. I'm on Twitter at Ryan7Reed. That's the number 7. And by the way, my name is Ariady, like you read a book. I don't have a Facebook page. I used to. I'm on Instagram as Herc78. And my YouTube channel is Ryan3178. I have everything on there from educational channels thing. And I actually do Spider-Man and Justice Society of America comic book reviews. And I actually have 2 books. My Life as a Comic Book Reader, which was actually a self-biography, which is done in graphic novel style. And then Small Hope, which is actually about a guinea pig from outer space that brings hope to a distraught little girl. And they're both on Amazon.
Those both sound really cool.
It sounds like you made a guinea pig about outer space. What?
Yeah, I'm going to go jump on Amazon right now. You can find all the links, all the resources, and everything we talked about in this episode over at teachbetter.com, as well as those really important links for connecting with Ryan and keep the conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. And be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators, and just share this podcast with them. Ryan, this was awesome, man. Really appreciate you coming on. Really love your story. I think there's so much value in this episode. I'm excited for people to listen to it. But really just appreciate you taking some time tonight to hang out with us. Thank you.
Well, thank you for having me, guys. I mean, I love listening to you guys every day. I don't know, Jeff, I just seem to always say, you're listening to Teach Better Teach podcast. I'm like, I'm going to go craft and listen to them talk.
Well, I love that. I appreciate that. That means a lot to both of us. So thank you for that. And until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.